Kia ora, everyone, and welcome to our first talk in the 2026 Connect and Develop series. I'm Anushka Gunatilaka, Alumni Relations Engagement Advisor here at the University of Auckland. So today's session is all about cutting through the noise, getting clearer on what you truly want, and building the confidence to make decisions with intention. Our speaker today is University of Auckland's 40 Under 40 alumna and co-founder of several of Auckland's top restaurants, Chandni Sahrawat. Joining Chand today is our MC, Cheryl Halverson, a career development and employability consultant here at the university. So Cheryl basically supports students to navigate their career pathways and build confidence in their professional journeys. On behalf of UOA, a huge thank you to Chandni and Cheryl for being part of this series, and also to all of you for joining us. Do take the opportunity to share your questions throughout the session. Over to you, Cheryl.
Kia ora, everyone. Thanks, Anushka. Really great to be here today. Really excited to dive into Chand's presentation. But before I do introduce Chand, I just wanted to cover a few tips for participating in today's webinar. So we'll be using the Q&A function, which you can find at the bottom of your on-screen Zoom panel. It's now live, so please submit any questions that you have at any time, and we'll be monitoring them as we go. I would just encourage you to use the upvote feature of the questions that you can find or that you do find most interesting. So then these questions will actually move to the top of the Q&A screen. And toward the end of today's webinar, Chand will be answering some of the highest rated questions. So now on to introducing today's speaker, Chand. So Chandni Sahrawat is a New Zealand-based entrepreneur, restaurateur, and hospitality leader known for shaping Auckland's dining scene. Originally from Pune, India, she moved to New Zealand as she moved to New Zealand as an international student and completed her studies at the University of Auckland, Massey University, and the Southern Institute of Technology. She is the founding director and operations manager of acclaimed establishments including Cassia, Sit at the French Cafe, and FMCG brand Cassia at Home. With a focus on operations, marketing, human resources, and strategic growth, she began her hospitality career in New Zealand, where she met her husband and business partner, Chef Sid Sarawat. And together, they have opened multiple successful restaurants and launched Cassia at Home. Chandni is an advocate for workforce inclusivity and supports fundraising and charitable causes in Auckland. She has been recognized among the university's 40 Under 40 alumni and is a board member of Heart of the City, contributing to initiatives that support the city centre. She is also a life coach and founder of Goal Getters New Zealand. We are so grateful to have Chan here today as we look at how we can all equip ourselves with the skills and mindset for a successful career now and into the future. So over to you, Chand.
Thank you so much for having me, Cheryl, and the university team. It is so good to be here and talking as an alumni to the future of our country and through our students. So I will now share my screen and talk to you a little bit about the topic today, which is design, life by design or by default, and share with you a really neat tool that I have created that could help you in your journey in your career. And then open to having any questions anyone may have and answering them to the best of my ability. So here we go. Right. Sorry, technical glitches. Give me 1 second as to why. Is that working now for everybody? Sorry about that.
We can see, Chan. Thanks.
Okay. So what I wanted to talk to you about today was a life that is designed by default or by design, and how you actually build the life you really want. The reality is that all of us as students try and do everything right. We get the degree, then we get the job, go on to buying a house or getting ahead in our career, but then we still end up feeling a bit lost. Why does this happen? Essentially, you live a life by default. And what that means is that you're driven by habit, waking up every day, going to uni, doing your courses, and then later on getting a job, going ahead and doing the work you need to. Life is just happening to you. And you have external pressures and expectations that are motivating and driving you rather than internal motivation. So perhaps your parents are telling you you need to do this, pursue this career. There are expectations of your family. We all have expectations of society. All of those things are actually driving a life that is created by default. Whereas what I want you to consider is what a life that is designed by you through conscious choices looks like. Intentional choices where you're making decisions that are led by your values and you have a clear direction and goals in what you need to achieve. Now, this is what I call my worst nightmare on one page. We all start off with birth, and we're all pushing towards the end. There is an end point in our life, which is death. And we're running like hamsters on a wheel every day, trying to get by day by day, just trying to survive. This is what life by default really looks like. You're always busy just doing things that need to be done to make money, to get ahead in your life and your career, and you're rarely doing them with intent. Here are a couple of signs that you may be living by default. So you've got burnout. Everything seems a little bit too much. You're a bit confused about the direction your life is going in. You're feeling stuck at different points and you are questioning your choices. Those are the signs that life is not really being pushed by you and designed by you, and it's not being lived intentionally. Why does this happen? It is because we have a misalignment with our values. We're doing things that are not aligned to us completely. So my own story here is I came from India at age 17 and I studied Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and English. I came here at age 17 to New Zealand as an international student. I did my BA in Psych and English, and the intention at that point for me was to be a school counselor. However, I realized very quickly after finishing my BA, I needed A, further study to do that, and B, I didn't really understand the New Zealand schooling system. So how could I help the people who were in it? My entire schooling was done in India, which is a very different educational model than New Zealand. So then I decided that if that is what I wanted to do, I needed to be a teacher. And I would use my English degree and become a teacher and do a grad dip in teaching. And I was able to teach English, health, and ESOL and got my first job at Rangitoto College teaching English, which is New Zealand's biggest school, secondary school. After that, I realized I wanted to have a family as well. And having a partner who is a chef who comes home at, say, in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. was really not conducive at the time to having a family and being a teacher. Other teachers could come home at maybe 5 o'clock and have the support of their partner. Um, I, I was almost like a single parent when I had our first child. So I decided to give up teaching and join my husband in hospitality because I did have a business background from my own family. And that's how we created different restaurants, Siddharth, which we sold, Cassia, which became the first modern dining, modern Indian restaurant in Auckland, the French Cafe, which we bought, who was actually a competitor in the fine dining space of Sadat. And then we created Cassie at Home, which is an FMCG brand, as a response to COVID. It was a typical COVID pivot. Doing all of that was great, but I severely burnt out in 2020 with the COVID pandemic and trying to do a pivot within 3 months, trying to create Cassie at Home to be on shelves, because at that point in my head, I wanted our business to be an essential service to survive COVID. I wanted to ensure that we had jobs for everyone in our team, that we were still staying relevant to our customers. And I realized very quickly when I had that burnout, I had to be sedated in December on the 3rd of December 2020, missed my own birthday, that I didn't understand my own limitations and needs. I really just wanted to be a superwoman and help everybody through everything, except I forgot myself in that equation. And I was working to live my husband's dream for a long time as well. So what I did when our restaurants got flooded in 2023 with the Auckland anniversary flood. Cassia got completely flooded, and I managed to then move it to Sky City. Was I took a step back after that, and I could see that I was at risk of burnout again. I looked at my values and what was important to me, and I took 2 years out of my career to find work that would be aligned. At that time, I knew that either I needed to be in education again or I needed to be in the not-for-profit, working somewhere in not-for-profit because it would fulfill my need for helping others. And so I got a job as a project manager in the senior leadership team of the Breast Cancer Foundation. And I helped them with 5 different projects. When that contract came to an end, I still hadn't completely figured out what I wanted and what my purpose was. And another CEO of Victoria Coffee, who's a friend, he came along and said, "Look, your contract's finishing with the Breast Cancer Foundation. I really need your help with my business." And as he was a friend who I owed a massive debt to. It was a personal debt. He had actually helped me fundraise for the Christchurch victims massacre, mosque massacres, and donated $10,000 immediately over the phone to this cause for this fundraising event that I was doing. I had this personal sense of indebtedness to the CEO, and I decided to jump into that job. Very quickly, in about 6 months of taking that job as marketing manager, they had made me an operations manager for all of New Zealand. I realized that I was again living a life that was not aligned with my values. And I then looked at my education, which was now I also had a postgraduate in counseling because I never gave up on my interest in mental health. I decided to do a graduate certificate in coaching from SIT. And that was because I questioned whether I wanted to then become a counselor and be registered as a psychologist or reconsider my choice and see what else was out there in the mental health space. For me, coaching was a choice because counseling is backward looking and I am a solution focused person. If you give me a problem, my first instinct is to try and solve it. And a lot of people are solution focused. They don't want to dwell in the past. We do understand that what happens in our past impacts how we respond to things in the future. But coaching is just so much more forward looking. It recognizes that every single person out there has potential to achieve their goals. And so I did a grad cert in coaching from SIT while I was employed at Victoria Coffee as well, and pushed myself to re-enter and change my career trajectory as a life coach. And I have further defined that even more after getting my certification because I now know that my purpose is to help others navigate trauma and life pressures so they can live full lives. Now, what I want you to take from this career journey is that Unlike my husband, who's always known that he is a chef and wants to own a restaurant, he's had a linear career journey. Mine has been shaped through life, and now I understand that life happens in seasons. At different points of my life, I have seen purpose and value in changing careers. Um, and there have been times in life where I have not really known where my life or my career was going to lead me. But as long as I have stuck to my values, I've figured that out for myself. And I do not regret having any of these versions of my career. They've all added in some way or shape and helped me build skills that make me employable and empower me to help other people. So, what do I mean by life happens in seasons? You start studying as a student, you get qualified, you get a job. The next priority for you perhaps is a relationship, is building financial security, having a home. And these things look different for different people, but that is a season in your life or goals. Sometimes having a family is part of that season, especially sometimes for women. It is a decision that you need to take time out of your career to have a child. And then seasons change in your life where you're focused over financial security for your retirement, spending time with your partner, for example. And we all go through this. Different seasons require different goals. So your goals can keep changing. And clarity on your purpose doesn't come all at once. I am a prime example of that. It takes time to find your purpose in life. It took me until 41 to get there. I did know my values, but my purpose and my mission, that took a long time. Growth in itself is never linear. There is no straight line to growth. We are all expect it to go up, but at times it comes up and down, and that is just normal. You look at any business model, any P&L, you will see that growth is not linear. It has pain points. Similarly, life has the same. The big problem I feel is that we all like to have a plan. We have a plan for our career, we have a plan for our businesses, but the one thing we forget to have a plan for is our lives. None of us actually spend time planning our life. If you ask someone, a business person, and I do this very often with founders I work with, I ask them, have you got a business plan? And they will tell you and be able to rat off all the goals that they need for the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. But when I ask them, do you have a life plan? None of them do. Here is an example that will explain a little bit more, and I love using analogies to understand what I'm talking about when I say, do you have a life plan? Imagine your life is a car, and you have the gas for that car is the money that you earn from having a career or a business. We focus so much, and I know we have a fuel crisis, so this is very topical. We focus so much on the fuel. Where is it going to come from? How much time will it take to get to me? How much do I need, or how much am I going to get? Even the New Zealand government at the moment is giving us updates on how many liters of fuel we have left. Where is it coming from? Singapore. We've just signed a new agreement with Singapore. And how many days is that going to last for? So we're focused so much on where in life the money is going to come from, whether it be career or business, that is going to fuel our life, that we actually forget to think about the direction of our life and the maintenance that our car needs. Now, if I show you this beautiful car, don't ask me what the model is if you are a car buff. It just looks like a beautiful red sports car. What happens when you ignore this car? You've got gas in it, a full tank of gas, but this car is not going to go anywhere if it's broken. If you haven't maintained it, if there's no air in its tires, if you've not done its warrant of fitness, all the maintenance that you need to do to keep the car going. If you've ignored it, it is not going to go anywhere, even if you have all the gas and if you have a beautiful, sexy looking car. It's just going to stay in your driveway. It's the same with life. Now, what I've done personally in my life coaching is created a model that explains what life planning is. And it's based on a psychological model by Dilt, calls it logical levels. And the other thing I've done is taken my experience in business and business planning and put timelines across this. So what this is a pyramid with hierarchies. And I'm going to show you that most people who come to me with burnout, with issues around juggling life and careers, they are living in the two bottom tiers of this pyramid. They are focused on their behavior and they are focused on, sorry, it's gone backwards instead of forwards. They're focused on their behavior and they're focused on other things, but they aren't looking at where fulfillment comes. Fulfillment comes from your mission, purpose, knowing your mission, purpose, and identities, and your vision and values. But what I'm again going to iterate here is knowing your mission, purpose, and identity takes time. If you ask my 20-year-old self, if I knew my mission, purpose, and identity, I probably wouldn't be able to articulate that. Would I be able to articulate my values? Yes, because even the 20-year-old me knew what values I held dear. I knew how my parents had raised me. I knew what was important to me, like standing up for other people was important to me. Giving back was important to me. Helping others was important to me. You don't go from being a morally and ethically aligned person one day to becoming a murderer tomorrow. That change doesn't happen overnight. So you know your values, and this is how you use knowing your values helps you in creating a life plan. So you set goals. As long as you set goals that align with your values, you will continue succeeding in whatever you do in life because values won't change. Goals can change depending on the season of life you're in. And here are, if you don't know what values are, you can do a simple search on Google, use AI if you need to, and get a list of values. This is one that comes up when I did a search, and this one is quite neat because it breaks down personal values, interaction values, business values, customer values if you're in a business. External values, what are important to you? Is the environment important to you? Is sustainability, social responsibility, personal values like integrity are more important? And you can even rank those values for yourself. So I really suggest anyone and everyone do this for themselves. And how does this help? Let's just take an example of career alignment. Does this align with your values? For example, working for a corporate who does not have sustainability, if that is a value that is important to you, does that really align with your values when you're making that choice to work for them? Do your values align with them, the organization? So again, you can find the mismatch and it makes the decision very simple. If it doesn't align with your values, do reconsider because otherwise you will have no job satisfaction after a while. You may find interest when you take up a role or a job, but you will very quickly find that you are misaligned and you cannot succeed at this any further. You will get to a point where you would have reached your limit. And I have actually created a tool that then further takes your values and helps you with making decisions. So this is a decision-making framework that you can use yourself in any life circumstance or where you have a choice to make, and it helps you with making those choices. It can help you from going reactive and trying to make a decision in a snap of a second to being purposeful and being clear instead of being overwhelmed. I'll give you here's a case study. I had a client and she is a business founder, and she said, look, I struggle to trust my gut. The gut is something that is not easily quantifiable. It's just a feeling, right? When we say, I can't trust my gut on this. And one of the questions she had was in her business, opportunities come. How do I say yes to a certain opportunity and no to another one? I just can't trust my gut. So we looked at how to quantify these and create a gateway, a values-based gateway tool. What I knew from this client was that we'd set goals based on her values already. And one of them was to feel like she was A, financially secure in her business, B, that she was putting her brand out there and getting exposure in a way that was authentic and real. And the third one was it filled her need for creativity. So we took those three important values or elements and we made it into a making framework for her. And this is what that looks like. So every time she now gets a new opportunity, I asked her with these three things, these three questions, which ones are more important? And she said, well, financial benefit was the first and most important thing when she was assessing an opportunity. So that became the first gate. Is this opportunity going to generate revenue or have clear financial value? If the answer was no, it had to go straight into becoming a no. The second two elements or values that she wanted answered, and I asked her to rank this, so this is not my choice, is does it build the brand? Does it get her exposure, positioning, and visibility in an authentic way? Or does it fulfill her creatively? And she could have chosen both of these as being equally important, but she said that she needed one of these boxes to be ticked. One of these elements had to be present for her to say yes to that opportunity. So it was either it builds the brand or it fulfills her creatively, and then she would accept the work. Otherwise, she would reject it. So here you can see how you can take your values or what is important to you at any given season of your life and actually put it down into a decision framework. And why does this work? Because it takes out all the emotional overwhelm. Should I do this? Should I not do this? It builds trust in your decisions. You can always go back, and if you're questioning your decision later on, you can go, what made me do this? Go back to your decision framework, and you will have seen that there was a really good reason why you made the decision you did. And it aligns your actions with your values. So as long as you've got your values and you know what your values are, you're then acting because of your values and you're driven by those. Now, you could apply this to your own life in different aspects like career decisions, business decisions, opportunities that have come to you, relationships even. You could make one for the ideal partner if you like. So there's different ways you can do it. Now, I had to put a takeaway since I'm from the restaurant background. So the final takeaway from me is identify what you actually want, not what society is telling you, not what your parents or family are asking you. If those things are important to you, definitely consider them, but identify what you really, really want and align all your goals, no matter what the season is, with your values. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel lost, if you feel that you're at risk of burnout, go back to your values and reassess them. They will never, ever lead you in the wrong direction. So far, I am standing here with 3 different careers, 3 different roles, but I can say that each one of them has always added to my resume, improved my skills, and I've never looked back with regret because I've aligned my goals always at any given season with my values. So, and again, if you need further clarity, use decision frameworks and create those decision frameworks so that you can come back. And if I can try and take an intangible thing like a gut feeling and map it out for a client, I'm sure you can do that for yourself as well. And it'll provide that clarity you need in making future decisions. So my last question to everyone is you need to do a little bit of reflection for yourself and decide whether you want to live by default, like the hamster running on that wheel, or actually create a life plan for yourself and live by design because you can. And I will stop there.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chand. That was really informative, really motivating, and I feel like I got a lot from it that I'll be reflecting on for quite a while. And I really loved how you said about everyone has potential to achieve their goals. I think that's really empowering. And how it all just comes back to values is just, yeah, such an important thing to highlight. So thank you for sharing that and for sharing your story. Just for time's sake, I have a lot of questions, but we do have some that have come through in the chat, so I'll just jump to those first. So our first question that has come through is, how do you plan your life in a time of so much uncertainty? Really curious how you took decisive action with limited information and the risk that the macro environment could change once again.
That's a great question. And what I do is, again, look at what you can control in your life and what you cannot. We cannot control wars. We cannot control COVID. Those are all external things that are causing stress. Every human being is stressed out because of anxiety or fear. And when you try and control things that are not in your control, that anxiety, stress, and fear increase. So I always look at what I can and cannot control, go back to my values, and then make decisions around my values because the economic environment, wars started off by someone sitting in America, really cannot be a decision that I can be part of and control. And if I go back to my values, I see what can I control. So if it's my career that I can control, my goals that I can control, those are the only things. And how I respond to stress is what I can control. So I go back, and when you do that exercise, when you distinguish what you can and cannot control, your stress automatically goes down and you start focusing on things that are in your control versus out of your control.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, yeah, revisiting again what is in my control. Yeah, fantastic advice. Thank you. Our next question is, what an amazing story. Thank you for sharing, Chand. Are there any key questions or actions you do to find your most important values? How do you know which path to take when they can meet your values in different ways?
Again, ranking my values. So I go through and look at the list, and I've written my values down, and I know those are not going to change. So in life, I've got what is important to me. For example, integrity is important to me. That is written down. And then I rank. So for someone, financial independence may be something that is higher ranked than integrity. For someone else, integrity may be higher, more important than financial benefits. So you have to look at the seasons in your life and then rank your values because those values will not change, but their priority may change at different times as well. Spending time with your family, and that may take precedence over financial security at some point. It may be important that you have a hybrid career for a while so that you can be with your you can raise children, for example. So those priorities can change. So it's going back to the key fundamental values and ranking them and seeing what aligns with your life plan and changing your goals accordingly. It's totally okay to change goals.
Again, great advice. I always kind of like to refer to it as like your little whys, and then you've got your big why, where sometimes those, yeah, your seasonal values and goals are your little whys at the time. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, we've got another question. So thank you, Chand. This is great advice for anyone at any stage of life. I'm a parent. Do you have any advice on how to introduce to an intentional life to uni students who are living in the two bottom levels of the pyramid, but without applying too much parental pressure?
I guess the best advice I can give you, and I have two children, 10 and 15, and I stop putting pressure on them to know exactly what path they need to go down. Because like I said, finding your purpose, your mission, and your values takes a long, long time. It doesn't come instantly. You need to get comfortable with your identity. It is getting them to understand what values and doing that values exercise with them. And they will have already, as if you're a parent and you've been doing your job well, which I'm sure you have, they will already know what values they find important. And then as they navigate their journey, look at the careers that hold those values. Look at the companies that hold those values or not hold those values. When you work for a company that knows its culture, its mission, vision, and purpose, those three things right at the top, there's the same for us as human beings in our life as companies have those mission, vision, and values, and they go and state them very loudly, usually on a website. So you can go and see if you align with those and tell them to do that, tell them to take that exercise on. And then you would have created almost the second tier of that life plan, and then the bottom is where they keep working anyway. But then it'll help them set the goals in the middle and allow them to make mistakes with setting their goals, allow them to the flexibility to change those goals. I mean, some of the greatest University of Auckland alumni, like Simran Kaur, who's another example, she went on to study become an optometrist and ophthalmology, and then is now a financial investor and teaches other girls to invest correctly. So people are allowed to change careers, change their goals, as long as they're not compromising on their values. And I think that would be the biggest thing you could do with your students or your children.
Thank you, Chand. Yeah, you really highlighted the importance of the sometimes even the not doing the right thing or the thing that's not the fit. There's so much value and learning that comes from those experiences. Um, our next question. Oh, there's a lovely comment that I'll share. The thank you, Chan. Very grateful for your insights and your story. And then we've got another question that how about something I really want to do that I feel deeply about, but would be difficult because the starting point doesn't pay much? Do I still give it a try, knowing I will suffer at the start? This career aligns with my values, and I know I'll very likely love doing it, but how about the financial hurdle? Thank you.
Again, something that we all come across at different points of time and have to face. So it is how much of the discomfort are you willing to accept is the question. How much of the growth always comes from being uncomfortable? Otherwise, there would be no like change is uncomfortable. Nobody likes change. And instinctively, you're creating, you've got an answer. This is a career you're really passionate about and want to pursue. But what is stopping you is the discomfort of change. The change is the financial aspect. How much of it are you willing to accept in pursuit of this career or this goal, and how much are you not? Is there a middle ground? Is there a way you could pursue this career in a way where you could have a part-time job or a side hustle that would benefit you enough and keep you financially comfortable enough? It will still cause discomfort because you have to start from a bottom level and build your way up. What other things could you put in place where you're as comfortable as you can with the change, controlling as much as you can, which is logically in your control? Other things may not be, but only you can answer the question for yourself and find a path forward. But I do know that if you keep ignoring your need to pursue or a calling, you can come back to the same point after 5 years. You may pursue financial gain right now and be comfortable. 5 years later, that calling can still come on you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Yeah, that navigating uncertainty is, oh, there's always that level of discomfort. And that's really a great way to frame it is what level of discomfort are you, yeah, comfortable with? Yes.
What
Um,
can you, I always say, what is the worst case scenario in business, or in life? What is the worst case scenario? And if you can live with worst case scenario, then that decision is worth pursuing.
oh, brilliant. All right, we've got another one that's come through. So I'm at a crossroad in my life at the moment, so this webinar came at a great time. In a full-time permanent position with an opportunity to move to another role, really aligns with values and something they've been volunteering with for years, but the salary is dependent on funding availability. So we'd love to take it, but not quite guaranteed for an extended period of time. Um, so not sure what my question is, but your feedback and opinion would be valuable. So this is the first, or this will be the first time this company would have a full-time employee rather than volunteers. So I guess some, yeah, feedback around that situation.
Well, I think you should be patting your back that here is a company willing to give you a full-time position in, in what has traditionally been a volunteer position. So that in itself is great. The question I would ask is, what would my regret be if I didn't take this position or this opportunity? So that is another test that I put on myself. I believe in living a life with no regrets. So coulda, shoulda, woulda. If you're going to look back on this after 5 years and go, I should have really taken this option, then you would be silly in not pursuing it right now.
No, wonderful. Thank you so much. That is unfortunately all the time we have for today. So yeah, unfortunately we can't get to all those questions, but again, really, really wanted to thank you for your time today, Chand. It was really, yeah, took so much from it, and it sounds like everyone who has been watching has as well. Want to thank everybody for your questions, your attention, your participation, and again, Chand, thank you for your time and for such an engaging talk. We really appreciate it.
And if anyone wants to reach out on LinkedIn, and has further questions, always happy to help our alumni or our students.
Wonderful. Thank you so, so much. And just a couple of notes to close off today's webinar. Today was the first webinar of the 2026 series. There's 2 more that are coming later in this year, so just make sure you look out for those details on the website and be sure to register. And I encourage you all to get connected by joining the university's fantastic mentoring program. Actually, Alumni Connect, fantastic platform to get connected with people, and you can follow the link on the screen to create a profile, and you start connecting with others in the university community for career support, advice, and different opportunities. And there's actually also a career coach on there for providing expert advice when you need it. So we look forward to seeing you at the next talk. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you again, Chan. Have a great week. Bye-bye.